Alright, so here I am, I'm back again. I wanted to wing this. I had been doing the reviews on Joyce Meyer's book, The Root of Rejection, and I had actually been doing this, the last time I did this, I believe, I think was, I want to say back in 2011. Maybe I did one yet last year, I'm not sure, but I got up to where I was supposed to do chapter 9 next, and I never did. So I'd really like to finish this for you guys, because it's just, I imagine it's frustrating for people that were following right along with the reviews, and then all of a sudden there's this big gap, and you're like, whoa, wait a minute, where's the rest of it at? We've got chapter 9 and a conclusion yet here to do. So I want to try to, I'm winging this basically, because I don't plan this stuff out. Chapter 9 is manipulation and control. Now Joyce says, Webster's definition of manipulation is managing or influencing shrewdly or deviously, controlling or tampering with by skilled use for personal gain. And she also says that to control somebody is sin, and that God wants to lead and guide you, and God will control you only if you continually give Him permission to do so. And she goes through, you know, all that, and I usually just read the highlighted parts that stood out to me. And she's saying about control here, because she says, listen to the definition of control. It means to direct, influence, restrain, regulate, curb, exercise authority over, or try to prevent. It also means to check by duplicate register. When I read that, I saw something powerful. To check by duplicate register means to keep two separate sets of books. And she continues to go on from that. And basically, it's about people manipulating your life, or you're manipulating somebody else's life. And a lot of us, you know, have to deal with that quite often, actually. And like she says here, the devil doesn't care how he controls you. All he wants is to get his way. He will control you through demon powers coming against your mind. He will do it by using other people, maybe even those who love you and don't even know they are being used. But because you don't stand up to them, they just continue to control you. The person doing the controlling just figures that because you won't stand up to him, you want things to continue on just the way that they are. And that's, like I said, something that I think a lot of people deal with, where it's like you're being bullied by people, no matter who it may be and everything, whether it be like a family member or one of your friends, and you just, it's like she gave as an example, and I'm going to change it around just a little bit to something that would be like more fitting for me. It would be like going into shopping with a friend and looking at CDs and saying, you know, oh, I really like this CD, and they go, oh, you know, I don't like that. And then you kind of just pass it up because they don't like it, or maybe it's the CD you wanted to listen to on the way home, and you know they're not going to listen to it anyway, so you don't get it, but you're using your money to get it, and you pass it up for that reason. And I mean, with some things, it's like, you know, if people say they don't like something, and they give you a reason, you know, why, like, well, you know, I previewed this, and I'll tell you that it's not their best work, or it's just not something that I think that would be fit for you. There's times that it is true. There's times that it is right. You may buy that and find out they were right the whole time, but then there's times, you know, if they just keep going through, I don't like this, I don't like this, I don't like this, and they cut out everything that you like, if it's something that you really seriously know that you want, or something that you've been saving up for, it's so easy to fall into that trap to think that, well, they don't like it, so I guess I can do without it. So it's just one of those things that you really have to watch out for, and they may not even mean anything by it. That's just their opinion, but it's so easy sometimes to live off of other people's opinions that you just completely give up doing things yourself, and you just rely so much on other people to tell you how it should be. And many times she says many times that those who have a terrible fear of rejection will marry someone who is strong-willed. I believe God puts them together. Do you know why? Because you'll never get over the fear of man if you're not forced to confront and face it. If you are always looking for someone who won't reject you, and you're always saying, don't do that to me, don't do that to me, what you are really saying is, I don't want to confront the problem. I don't want to deal with it anymore, so I'll just be around these meek, sweet, kind, loving people who will never give me a problem about anything. But it won't work. Sooner or later, in order to get on the other side of that fear, You're going to have to stand up to somebody. Maybe it will be a boss, a friend, a spouse, or a child. Many people who have a root of rejection have strong-willed children, and unless they deal with their own fears, their children will control them. And before I say anything on it, she also has here, I had a terrible fear of displeasing others and making people angry, so I always tried to keep everybody fixed. I just wanted to keep everybody happy. I didn't want anybody to be disappointed with me. I tried so hard to be perfect and live my life in such a way that nobody would ever find anything wrong with me. Then they wouldn't reject me, and I wouldn't have to experience all that pain. For me, in my life, that's where I'm at right now. When people give me a hard time and we get into arguments over stuff and they tell me, you know, you're wrong and this and that, it's like with Facebook, I delete them and block them. Sometimes it's necessary, because sometimes people are just naturally harsh, they're naturally mean, and if they are constantly being negative on every single thing you say and do, you don't have to live that way. But if it's something where maybe you need to have your eyes open to it, maybe it's something that you're doing wrong that they're pointing out, just trying to help you, and it's not a continuing thing, it's just a one-time thing where they're like, you know, hey, you know, if you ask like for advice or something, or you need somebody's opinion or suggestion on something, and then you get a response, and it's hard to deal with. It really is hard. I have a hard time with it, and I battled with an awful lot of people, lost an awful lot of people in my life because of this, because I just can't stand it. But then there's some people that think they are always right on everything, and I can't stand people like that either, because you have to admit that you're human and you make mistakes. You're not always going to get everything right. And that's an issue for me, but it's just the fact that you have to have certain people in your life that will turn around and say, you know, this isn't right. And if you turn around and have somebody in your life that's always, hey, you did a good job with that, hey, you know, I like this, there's nothing wrong with that. I don't know why people would say that. There's nothing wrong with that. If you continually have somebody in your life that's always like that, and they never correct you on anything, you're just trying to keep peace. You're just trying to have somebody there to make you feel good without actually saying, you know, they're like overlooking all the things, the negative things, all the things that need to be worked on, and that's not the way to deal with something. And like I said, that's an issue for me. That's something I'm trying to really work on, and because I feel, you know, burnt an awful lot by people. And another issue that she mentions is about needing to have that fixed, and that's the way that I am. I'm always trying to please everybody, no matter what I have to do. I mean, it's like if I feel like like right now, feeling inadequate without having a job and everything, I'm not pulling my weight, so automatically, you know, you try to keep the house a little bit cleaner and everything. You try to push to keep on top of stuff and everything. Before my mom gets home, I try to make sure everything's done, just because I feel like it's necessary. Or, you know, it's like somebody saying, you know, it's just like feeling like, you know, like, well, somebody likes the color blue, so when you're around them, you always wear a blue shirt because you know they like blue. You know, it's just, you just want to keep them happy. Whatever you have to do, whatever you have to say to keep people happy, because you don't want anybody to be mad at you. You don't want to for me, that's the issue. I don't want to disappoint anybody. I'm so afraid that I'm going to disappoint them. It's like if you ask me a question and I know the answer I'm going to give you isn't going to be something you want to hear, I may change my answer just to keep you happy, because I don't want you disappointed in me. If you want me to take and do something, which is just something that happened here just recently, taking a job that was offered to me, wasn't a paid job and everything, and I turned it down because it just wasn't something that I felt was something I felt comfortable with. Then I felt like I disappointed the person that actually asked me to do the job, and they said it wouldn't be an issue, you know, either way. It was just them trying to extend out to see, because they need help. And then a friend that had said, you know, I think this would be good for you. Well, actually two friends. And then I felt like I disappointed them because I said no. And then I had to, you know, I felt like I had to like crawl up to them and everything, like real low, and go, I didn't take the job. And then kind of lunge back real quick and everything, because you're waiting to get hit and everything, because you're afraid that they're going to be like, why didn't you take the job? You know, that's the way it feels sometimes. You know, that's the way that life is. But it's just the fact that you can't make people happy all the time. You just can't. We're all born with different personalities and different traits, and there's just no way that you're going to keep everybody happy all the time, because we all see life differently. So it's just something that it's a learning process, and it takes a while, but it's definitely worth it if you can work through that. She has here, for much of my life, I allowed others to keep a duplicate register for me. In other words, I would start to do something, and I would immediately look around for that approving look. I was secretly saying, is it okay? It's not wrong to give that approving look to someone, or to get an approving look occasionally, but it's wrong when you start to fall apart if you don't get it. That's another issue I deal with, being an emotional person, which, you know, like I think I've stated before, and everything, being a sensitive person is actually a medical issue and everything. There are just certain people that are like that. For me, you know, and to get kind of personal with this and everything, for me, you know, for somebody that was abused as a child, for somebody that felt neglect in school because I was picked on constantly bullied, you know, constantly put down and everything, just a lot of serious mental abuse, and then the physical abuse that I actually took, you know, at home from my father at different times. It's hard, and going to talk to someone, trying to get help and stuff. And I want to stress right now that for anybody that's still harassing me today, I'm not putting this out here for you to use this against me. And if I hear it in an argument, I might just fly off the handle, because I'm not putting myself out there to be harassed even more. I'm just trying to let people know who I am so that you can kind of understand where I'm coming from. But it's hard when you go your whole life suffering with depression. You go your whole life feeling neglected and feeling like you don't matter, maybe to feel like you don't feel good and everything, being made to feel like you're not good enough and everything. You're made to feel like your image isn't right because of being overweight and that, and dealing with, you know, just trying to get to know myself. I really don't know who I am to a point. I think that there's times I'm trying to learn about myself. I'm trying to find out who I am, and then in the process you have other people manipulating that to try to make you feel like, well, you're not good enough because you can't do this. You're not good enough because you don't do that. You didn't do this, didn't say that. And it's the devil, you know, it's the devil working through these people to try to crush us and bring us down. And it's so easy to step into that, you know, and become a manipulator yourself and to hurt people, and you don't stop and think about it until it's too late. So, she also has here, you should use Galatians 6:1 as your guideline. Brethren, if any person is overtaken in misconduct or sin of any sort, you who are spiritual, who are responsive to and controlled by the Spirit, should set him right and restore and resonate him without any sense of superiority, and with all gentleness, keeping an attentive eye on yourself, lest should you be tempted also. She also has another thing you can do for those with the root of rejection, is to help them make their own decisions and respect their opinions, even if they are not like yours. You can help them to hear from God, and that's the thing you have to realize too. Is, like I said, that everybody, you know, we just all have our own things in that, our own personalities, so your opinion's not going to be the same as mine. I mean, you may not like the color purple like I do, you may not like the music that I like, and that's alright. You know, you may say, like, if you gotta choose from A to B, A from B, whatever, you may say, well, I choose A, and I'll say I choose B, and that's okay, because we're allowed to have different opinions. People with this problem tend to come to you every time you turn around asking, well, what do you think I should do? She says, say to them, I think you should hear from God, and I believe you can. If they ask anything again of what you think they should do, then say, well, you tell me what you think God is saying, and then I'll tell you what I think. And if they say, well, I think God is saying this and this and this, most of the time it will be right for them. It may not be exactly what you would do, but you can encourage them and say, well, I probably wouldn't do it that way, but I think that's great for you. You're an individual, and you can hear from God and be led by Him. So a lot of people, it's so easy, and I know I do this too, you know, you go up and it's like, what do you think I should do? You know, I just went through this with my book that I put out, and with a picture on the back of the book. What picture do you think is the right picture? I can't find a picture, you know, I'm looking through, I can't find the right picture. How about this picture? What do you think about this picture? My mom said, no, I really don't care for that picture and everything. And then I put up another one, she said, that's my favorite one, so that's the one I used. It may not have been my first pick, but that's the one I used, so that's perfect example of that. Controlling, she says, controlling people and everything around you can just be a bad habit that needs to be confronted and broken, which, you know, is very much true. Whatever the case may be, it needs to be dealt with. It is not God's will for people to control other people. I repeat, for those that I'm having issues with, and I don't usually bring my personal business into these things, but I repeat, it is not God's will for people to control other people. And she said, I had to learn that it was sin and not at all pleasing to God for me to control and manipulate others or to coerce them into doing things my way. And again, you know, that's just an issue. Sometimes I think for me, I honestly think that it is so much easier. I think people find it to be so much easier to control somebody than what it is to take, responsibility for their own actions. It's just so much easier to control other people and push other people around so that you feel like you're the boss and everything, and you're the one that runs everything, and you feel like that takes the heat off of you, that takes the responsibility off of you, because you're controlling others and making them take care of things that maybe was your responsibility. Or some people just feel like they feel better pushing other people around. It boosts their ego. They think it makes them look good, but in the end they're really hurting themselves, and more than likely people that do this are hurting already, and that's their way of dealing with it. She says here, you were never intended to be controlled or to be a controller. Both bring misery. Not only is a person in bondage who allows others to control him, but also the individual who needs to be in control. Controlling other people's lives is hard work. I feel now that I have enough that I need to do to cooperate with God concerning my involvement with other people. I don't want to run anyone's life. I don't want to mind anyone else's business. I have enough of my own to take care of, and I think that that's what a lot of people need to realize is you have enough on your plate, with things that you're dealing with in your own life, and life is too short. You should be making the most of your own life instead of trying to run other people's lives. And it's hard, and even I'll admit that I've been bossy at times, or I've tried to control people, and it's hard, but you can break it. Pray about it, ask for forgiveness, repent of your sins, and just really, really meditate and really pray on that, and work on that, and try to be better about it. And I promise you, it'll be so worth it in the end if you just let that go and everything. It'll be a weight off your shoulders, and it'll be one less thing for you to have to worry about so that you can focus on the things that really matter. And, so that's pretty much it with that. But again, I just, like I said, with manipulation and control, it's just something that it's unnecessary. It's not something that you need in your life, and it's just something that's going to hold you back, and your life will be so much better once you let that go. So that's my kind of like word for today, that if you're manipulating someone, if you're controlling someone, and it, whether it be in a relationship, everything, friend, family, husband, wife, if you are doing this to other people, like in your church, everything, people in your workplace, to your neighbor, everything, to people that you just see on the street or whatever, and everything, it's a human reaction, a response, but it's also something that it's not necessary, and it's very hurtful. And but you also need to think for yourself, and it's something that I know I need to work on, and I'm sure a lot of others do, that you can't just run to everybody for an opinion all the time. You have to be able to form your own opinion, because you want to be able to say in the end that that's, like with me, be like, that's Tiffany's, that's not Tiffany and so-and-so and so-and-so, that's me. And everything, any work that you do, anything that you do, you want to be able to say that it's yours, and it won't be yours if you had to go through all these other people to get information, or really not so much so information, but to get opinions on. So, but anyway, this is my wing it video, and that's chapter 9 of Joyce Meyer's book, The Root of Rejection, and we have the conclusion, and I might as well do that next while I'm at it to get this done. But I just, like I said, I really wanted to touch on that because it's something that, I don't know, I think that these things usually come in a time in my life when I need them, and right now I really need that chapter, and I may come back to that again and kind of work on that myself and pray on that. And I don't know, I just hope that I helped somebody, and I hope that I didn't disappoint anybody that normally watches this by making you wait so long, and I hope that this isn't a disappointing review, because I know that I'm kind of, I'm bebopping around right now a lot of stuff, and I have a lot of stuff, on my heart and my mind, and I just hope that through this maybe somebody can get the help that they need. And if you have any questions or any comments, please feel free to let them. You can contact me through my inbox, and we can chat, whatever you need to do. I mean, I think that it's something that it's really important to be able to discuss these things, and through that we can help one another and educate one another and whatnot. So I want to thank you all for being there, and I love you guys, and God bless you. Mwah.